Golden Triangle is a famous region in Southeast Asia. It is called so because geographically, it is the intersection of the territories of Myanmar, Thailand, and Laos. At its closest point, it is only 126 kilometers from the Vietnamese border, as the westernmost point of our country is very close to the. It should be added that, due to being located at the intersection of three Southeast Asian countries and using different currencies, all illegal trade transactions here had to use gold. Although recently, Vietnamese police along with Lao colleagues dismantled a human trafficking ring in this area, in reality, the crime situation in the land of a million elephants is not the most concerning in the Golden Triangle. Let's explore together in today. Which country owns the Golden Triangle? For a long time, the Golden Triangle has been known as one of the world's largest white goods and stimulant trading areas, considered to rival the Golden Crescent, which includes Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan, located at the crossroads of Central Asia, South Asia. The reason illegal goods can be produced in large quantities in the Golden Triangle is due to the complex terrain of this region, with most of the area located in mountainous regions at an altitude of 1,000 meters, with a hot and humid climate, heavy rainfall. Although the overlapping mountains make transportation difficult to develop and people also do not have much land for cultivation, this is a favorable condition for growing opium poppies, the main raw material for producing opium and various banned substances. Moreover, the Golden Triangle region is also home to many ethnic minorities living together and is almost beyond the control of the three governments, thereby creating an ideal condition for criminals to hide. Since the Golden Triangle has no fixed borders and spans multiple countries, there is no precise information on its area. But it is estimated that this region covers about 200,000 square kilometers with a population of about 7 million people, meaning a population density of. On the Thai side, the Golden Triangle area is mainly located in Chiang. This is also the confluence of the Ruak and Mekong rivers, forming the natural border between the three countries, and is also the northernmost province of Thailand with an area of 11,503 square kilometers. It borders Phao, Lampang, and Chiang Mai. To the north, this province borders Shan State of Myanmar as well as the Keo and Zainabuli provinces of Laos. The provincial capital is Chiang Mai City, located 200 kilometers northeast of the tourist center Chiang Mai. And the town of Chiang Saen on the Mekong River lies opposite Laos, 60 kilometers to the southwest, while it is 62 kilometers south of Mae Sai and the Myanmar border. The Laosian territory belonging to the Golden Triangle region is located in the northwest of the country. Namely, this is the smallest province of the land of a million elephants, with an area of 6,196 square. It borders Otabekse, Luang Napa, and Zainabuli provinces in succession, and shares borders with Myanmar to the northwest and Thailand to the southwest. The capital of the Keo province is Hawaii district, located on the banks of the Mekong. In terms of geographical features like other parts of the Golden Triangle, this area also has a terrain mainly consisting of mountains and dense forests, creating favorable conditions. Additionally, the Mekong River flowing through plays an important role in the region's transportation. This river is not only a natural border but also a main transportation route for goods, including smuggling activity. The eastern part of Myanmar lies within the Golden Triangle, particularly. It borders Luang Napa and the Keo provinces of Laos to the Yunnan province of China to the north, and Chiang Rai, Chiang Mai, and Mae Hong Son provinces of Thailand to the south. Shan State has an area of 155,800 square kilometers, accounting for nearly one. One of the most prominent locations in this area is Tachalate. This is a border town opposite Mae Sai district of Thailand, and is the most populous area in eastern Shan State with 51,553 residents in 20. Today, it is one of Myanmar's 7 official trade ports with Thailand. In the past, Tachalate was part of the opium trade route from the Golden Triangle, and was also where Kun Sa once lived. It can be said that Shan State is the location producing the majority of illegal goods in the Golden Triangle region. Not only does it have a vast area, but it also has complex terrain, creating ethnic diversity. The most numerous among them are the Shan people, descendants of the oldest branch of the ancient Great Thai. For this reason, the Shan in Myanmar, the Lao Thai, and the Thai people living in the Golden Triangle region can communicate with each other comfortably.
The instability in the border region further complicates drug trafficking.
The origin of the Golden Triangle. Before the emergence of the Golden Triangle and the Golden Crescent, China was the world's drug center,
Both the top producer and the largest consumer market.
However, the situation began to change after World War II, when the Chinese Communist Party came to power. The new government cracked down heavily on drug producers and while forcing over 10 million addicts into rehabilitation in concentration camps, along with burning opium fields and replacing them with other crops. Around the same time, remnants of the Kuomintang in Yunnan began migrating to northeastern Myanmar, a country that had just gained independence. They forced local villages to join their army in exchange for food and money, while expanding opium cultivation to fund their operations. By the mid-1950s, opium production in Myanmar's Golden Triangle region had increased 10 to 20-fold, reaching 300 to 600 tons annually. Thus, Chinese drug lords established an empire there,
and leveraged international connections that the locals lacked.
Profits from drug trafficking allowed the Chinese to expand their influence. However, they faced fierce resistance from the Myanmar military, and the United States also ceased support for the Kuomintang forces there, due to fears that China might deploy troops into Southeast Asia. As a result, thousands of soldiers were airlifted to Taiwan,
while others fled to Thailand and Laos.
At this point, only a few young Chinese leaders remained in northern Shaanxi,
namely Lo Xinghan and Zhang Zifu, later commonly known as Kun Sa.
They began building their empire as commanders of the KWZ army. This paramilitary force was established in 1963, with the aim of suppressing communist uprisings and separatist movements by ethnic minorities. In return, the KWZ was permitted to produce and traffic drugs. Among them, Lo Xinghan controlled opium cultivation, while Kun Sa managed the Loibang mountain area near Myanmar's military base in Pacha Lake. During this period, the two both cooperated and competed. In 1969, Kun Sa, who was half Shan, was unexpectedly arrested due to his ties with the Shan State Army, a minority separatist organization. At this time, Lo Xinghan's empire rapidly grew. Twice a year, he transported 10 to 20 tons of opium to the Thai border, using caravans of 800 to 1,000. Not long after, Lo Xinghan was also arrested in 1973, also for his connections with the Shan State Army, not for drug trafficking. Meanwhile, Kun Sa subordinates kidnapped 2 Soviet doctors working in Myanmar. As a result, the government decided to release Kun Sa in exchange for the 2 hostages. Over the next 2 decades, Kun Sa became the dominant drug lord in the Golden Triangle. The market share of drugs originating from the Golden Triangle sold increased from 5% to 80% during this period, and Kun Sa was responsible for 45% of those transactions.
In the 1980s, at the peak of his power,
this notorious drug lord controlled 70% of Myanmar's opium
and supplied a quarter of the world's heroin.
To protect and consolidate his empire, Kun Sa built a formidable force
of about 20,000 men,
better armed than the Myanmar military. Faced with an increasing threat, Myanmar's military government was determined to eliminate
by using his rival, Lo Xinghan.
In 1989, he persuaded Peng Jiasheng, an opium trafficker and leader of the Kokang region, to cease dealings with the military government. The government rewarded Lo Xinghan with privileges in teak logging and also allowed him to trade in white goods. Within just 1 year, 17 new illicit drug refineries were built in Kokang
and surrounding areas.
By 1990, Lo Xinghan established the Asian World Business Conglomerate and quickly became Myanmar's most powerful business tycoon. The conglomerate secured government contracts to operate ports and airports, as well as to build toll roads and other infrastructure. By the mid-1990s, Lo Xinghan had a presence in every sector,
from teak and rubies to luxury hotels. Meanwhile, his rival Kun Sa's power was waning,
and he was forced to relinquish control of his armed forces in 1996,
later moving to live in Yangon with his vast fortune. Although the exact annual opium production in Myanmar cannot be accurately calculated, before the 1990s,
at its peak, the region's annual opium output exceeded 4,000 tons.
On a broader scale, by 1990,
The opium cultivation area in the Golden Triangle was over 180, accounting for more than two-thirds of the global total of nearly 263,000 hectares of opium. Currently, opium cultivation and illicit drug processing in North are almost entirely controlled by ethnic armed groups fighting for secession. In addition to rebel forces, some criminal gangs here traffic drugs, while also extorting protection money from boats on the Mekong River and sometimes hijacking vessels to transport. Among these, the most serious incident was the Mekong River Massacre, which occurred on the morning of October 5, 2011. Specifically, 2 Chinese cargo ships were attacked on a section of them in the Golden Triangle area near the Myanmar-Thailand border. As a result, all 13 crew members were killed and thrown into the river. Following this tragedy, the Chinese government increased joint patrols with Laos and Myanmar on the Mekong River, while cooperating with the Lao government to arrest the emerging drug lord Na Hong, a former subordinate of the fake Kun Sa, who later became the new kingpin of the Golden Triangle. Simultaneously, Beijing also intensified efforts to switch to growing other crops like rubber and bananas, replacing opium. The Golden Triangle's market. Although it declined in the 1990s, Myanmar remained a crucial link in the transnational white goods trade network. According to data from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, an estimated 430,000 hectares in Myanmar in 2005. Illicit goods produced in northeastern Myanmar were then transported by train and horse to refineries along the Thai border. The finished products were then smuggled across the border to Bangkok for distribution to international markets. In the 1970s, white goods from Southeast Asia were initially brought to the United States by couriers on commercial flights, often Thai and U.S. citizens, with Singapore as a transit point. California and Hawaii were the main entry points for Golden Triangle heroin, with a small portion smuggled into New York and Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, in Europe, in 1972, traditional white goods supply routes were disrupted after Turkey banned opium cultivation, increasing demand for products from Southeast Asia. At this time, the Triad also intensified its activities, making Hong Kong an early important. Criminal groups also used this city as a location to convert opium into refined heroin, led by the A0 organization, controlled by Singaporean Roland Tan. Authorities estimate that this gang imported over 700 tons of opium into Hong Kong from 1968 to 1970. They controlled the illicit drug trade in Europe by using air courier services from Thailand and Malaysia to their main hub in Amsterdam, then distributing the goods to other major cities in Western Europe. In the United States, during the 1980s, traditional mafia groups were significantly weakened, leading to ethnic Chinese gradually taking a dominant role in supplying drugs on the East Coast. From 1982 to 1987, the proportion of drugs from Southeast Asia supplied to the New York market increased from 3% to over 40%. By the 1990s, drugs were transported in small quantities of a few kilograms via regular shipping routes from transit points in Asia, such as Singapore, to Western Europe or the Eastern United States. This was managed by Nigerian traffickers and transported by carriers of other nationalities. When the drugs arrived at the destination, they were transported to cutting and packaging factories. The drugs would be diluted and packaged for retail sale, with profits sent to Lagos or Hong Kong for money laundering purposes. However, by the end of the 21st century, opium poppy cultivation in Myanmar had decreased by over 80% from 1998 to 2006 after eradication campaigns in the Golden Triangle. Later, in 2014, the area shifted to producing synthetic drugs and exporting them across Southeast Asia, East Asia, and Oceania.
Additionally, the general lawlessness in Myanmar's Golden Triangle region also made it a hub for other illegal activities,
such as wildlife trafficking, rare earth mining, antiquities trading, and even human trafficking.
Not only that, this region also produces weapons, with guns sold to rebels, as well as criminals in Southeast and South Asia.
Furthermore, at least 20 casinos have been built in northern Laos along the Myanmar-Thailand border, used as money laundering tools.
During the period when the Golden Triangle's opium production declined, the center of drug production shifted to the Golden Crescent region, comprising Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan.
In 1991, Afghanistan became the world's leading opium producer, with a yield of 1,782 tons.
Opium production here peaked in 2007, with over 8,000 tons out of the world's nearly 9,000 tons, nearly monopolizing the heroin market.
The Golden Crescent also leads in Canada's resin production, as yields here are very high, 4 times that in Morocco. This region also serves a much larger market than the Golden, with over 2,500 tons of opium produced and distributed to Africa, Europe, the Americas, and Central Asia, supplying nearly 9.5 million opium users.
However, opium poppy cultivation has recently resurged in the Golden Triangle region, after the Myanmar military staged a coup in the early morning of February 1, 2021.
Across the country, people are finding ways to protest the military government's leadership. Many rebel groups from conflicting factions
That made the country extremely unstable,
thereby enabling criminal gangs to become active again. Opium production is increasing, largely processed into stimulant forms, contributing to the vibrancy of the illicit drug trade in the region, with an estimated value of up to $10 billion. According to experts, although around 1 billion methamphetamine pills were seized in Southeast Asia in 2021, control efforts will not stop large corporations from operating in the Golden Triangle. Meanwhile, in the Golden Crescent region, after the fall of Kabul, Afghanistan's capital, in August 2021, the Taliban forces gained control over most of the territory. By April 2022, the new government issued a ban on opium poppy cultivation, prohibiting the processing.
That's ban the country. Therefore, in 2023, Myanmar surpassed Afghanistan to become the world's largest opium producer.
The United Nations agency report estimates that 1,080 tons of opium were produced in Myanmar, up from 790 tons the previous year. This is also the country's highest total production since 2001. While opium production in Afghanistan sharply decreased to about 330 tons during the same period.
What future for the Golden Triangle?
As we delve into the rich history of the Golden Triangle, we can see that this region has faced many challenges and transformations over the centuries. From its early days as a home for indigenous peoples to becoming a notorious hub for heroin trafficking. And now, it is undergoing significant changes. Entering the 21st century, tourism plays an important role in boosting the economy, especially in Thailand. Along the riverbanks in the territory of the Golden Temple, tourism activities are bustling and lively, such as boat rentals and providing costumes and items for tourists.
In Chiang Rai, many high-end hotels and restaurants are being built on the hills of Chiang Saen.
Tourists here can visit 2 museums about the Golden Triangle to learn about the history of opium production. Additionally, people can also visit Ban Bo Thai. This is where Kun Saw and his subordinates once occupied as a base for producing and supplying opium to the global market. In Laos, the Bacao province area has become the Golden Triangle special. Although it is a destination that attracts many tourists to the land of a million elephants, the reality inside is not always one of positive. Instead, there is complexity with many criminal elements operating illegally within a large-scale casino. Currently, the Golden Triangle Special Economic Zone is dominated by the King's Romance Casino, which attracts the majority of tourists. While no longer a center for opium trading, it has become a prominent location for international scam organizations. For example, in 2024, Vietnamese and Laotian police successfully dismantled a criminal syndicate in the Golden Triangle. In the early morning of August 2nd, the Criminal Police Department of Ha Tinh Provincial Police coordinated with forces from the MIP, conducting a raid and dismantling a transnational. Accordingly, the authorities arrested 155 suspects, seized nearly 100 passports, 74 meth, 18,900 Chinese yuan, dozens of computers, nearly 500 phones, thousands of unregistered SIM cards, and documents used to carry out fraudulent activity.
War in neighboring Laos.
Meanwhile, in Myanmar, since the 2021 coup, the country has descended deep into violent conflict between the military and opposing political forces, along with ethnic minority groups. The escalating violence has caused significant civilian casualties in Myanmar in 2024. This has created a wave of migration across the Thai border, forcing the country's police and military forces to be on high alert. Most notably is the issue of group border crossings, involving dozens to hundreds of people facilitated by illegal human slaughter. Looking at the future of the Golden Triangle region, both opportunities and challenges lie. Currently, continued investment in infrastructure and tourism remains a top priority for countries to drive economic growth. Providing tourists with memorable experiences of the history, culture, and natural beauty here somewhat alleviates previous prejudices of the Golden Triangle as a land full of instability and danger. However, escalating tensions in Myanmar with the uprising of many armed ethnic groups seeking secession has placed the border situation between it and surrounding countries in general, and specifically the Laotian and Thai territory,
on high alert.
The chaotic situation here also provides favorable conditions for drug trafficking gangs to become stronger, and new generation-wide drug lords, or so-called 21st century versions of Kunsa, may emerge. The above is information about the Golden Triangle region. Goodbye and see you in the next video.